Ever witnessed someone so fast on track you doubt you could ever be on their level? The mission of Advanced Motorsports is to demonstrate the speed is achievable for everyone. With the expertise of some of the best sim drivers in North America, we are set to release free content on social media and comprehensive guides on our website. For those seeking the ultimate experience, our Advanced Motorsport Institute and personalized coaching sessions are the way to go. No matter your level of experience, we invite you to follow us on our social media to learn to be fast.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Ready to start another great race in the Precision Racing League. Green flag flies, we're underway. Side by side, door to door contact. Incredible action here in the PRL. And they come together. After all the fighting, it ends in tears.
Tonight, we take a trip to Germany, to the Nürburgring, to see which drivers can handle this circuit. Today, the challenges will be high here in the Precision Racing League, the GT3 Fixed and Sprint Series. We start our action with the Fixed Series as we look to see how things play out over the course of the next 35 minutes of racing. Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me, Dylan Coyle, our producer tonight, Ramiro Cisneros, as we get ready for what should be an interesting one. A challenging road course to handle, a challenging track with the twists and bends around it. And of course, when it comes to the Grand Prix layout, lots of opportunities potentially to pounce, Dylan.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of those tracks, and I feel like even though it's all at the world-famous Nordschleife, the Nürburgring GP circuit is a little bit underrated, I feel. You get a lot of good racing here. It's a racer's racetrack, right, where you do have some heavy braking zones with a mixture of speedier, curvy sections that rely on aerodynamic grip. I'm excited to see what these two series are going to be doing here. We get a look at the schedule as well, JP, and we're almost at the final third of the season.
This brings us, in fact, into the heart of the second half of the season. Spa was that midway point last week on the 23rd. And today, bridges things for the rest of the European swing with Mugello and Imola coming up. Let's take a look at your provisional standings. Remember, drops not calculated into them yet. Jim Feliz is leading in those provisional standings. Luke Wallace, Evan McKay, amongst your front runners this season, 14 points to separation from them. Keep in mind, Feliz has the biggest drop out of all of them with a 50 compared to 42 for McKay. Kwok Nin also making up some lost time after he took his drop essentially in round number 4. He's right now 32 points back. He's right in the heart of it with Caleb Lehman as well. Lehman coming off a career run last time out, at least for this season. The M side, meanwhile, has had some interesting twists as well. Joey Costello is now leading those standings to a 43-point day. That took him to a 7-point advantage over Pete Mija, along with Hamilton and Walden McKenzie. Rounding out the top 5. Keep in mind, Walden and McKenzie have each had a DNF this season on their point tallies. Team standing wise, if you're with SRT, you're in a good spot. They're 1 through 5 of their organizational cars, with Yellow taking the top spot coming in with 7 top 5s and 2 poles, 3 fastest laps that sees them with the most points as an organization. Crikey Esports is the best non-SRT organization. SGE Esports trying to close up the gap. There is a tie for 8th, mind you. GT3 Racing dropping down to 9th. Lunatic Racing in that 8th position currently in the standings. That's what once more at your point standings for tonight. Tonight's action brought to you in part by Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs to build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available on the market today. All of your members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. RaceBox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, with the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Carefully priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit RaceBoxSimRacing.com to get a 5% discount. Use the Precision 5 coupon code. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Everyone wants to put yourself in the driver's seat. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments in your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And by Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. Currently in the midst of final moments of qualifying, and it's been a bit of a sloppy one for some. A lot of spins, a lot of contact, Dylan. And so far, Luke Wallace has taken the top spot with less than 90 seconds to work with.
Yeah, not the biggest gap between Luke Wallace and Evan McKay for first and second. However, as you see smoke in the foreground right there, there is a big gap between Kwok Nin in third and McKay in second. Almost 0.3 of a second with just over a minute remaining here at the Nürburgring in qualifying. But, I mean, if you go back from that, the gap between second and third as William Fenson sends it into P4, just 2 thousandths in front of Joshua Chinsky. I mean, if you look at the gap between first to third, yeah, that's 3.5 tenths. But if you go from third on back, that same gap, 3.5 tenths, that brings you back to around somewhere between 12th and 13th. So I think it's a good racy field right here.
A very racy field at that right now, especially since drivers like Jim Feliz deep down the pylon in 7th. A lot of the other cars trying to cycle themselves out. Evan McKay currently in 2nd. Kwok Nin is in 3rd at the moment in the 86 car. And it's a bit surprising for Feliz in particular. He's on screen here. Normally we see him in the top 5 by this point. Usually he's amongst those under contention for the top 3. Not today, it seems.
Yeah, not today. It doesn't look like Kwok Nin is going to be in contention for a win with those times, but obviously, as the checkered comes out for qualifying, he's still trying to get that final lap good to go here. It's going to tell a lot about what he's going to do in the race session here tonight, but It looks like everything is going to go to plan for Luke Wallace, currently on provisional pole, 154.62 as the provisional pole time. Still some cars out there trying to put in a fast lap to take it away from him.
Again, checker flag on the racetrack. Caleb Lehman back in 10th. Great run last time out at Spa, but not so great today because he's spinning it. So that's kind of set the tone today. A lot of incidents in the qualifying session here, Dylan.
Yeah, it's looking like it's a Luke Wallace pole position as Sully Saad still has some time to go, probably around 45 seconds before we go to the grid for the race session. It's a good time to talk about the different makes and where they're currently sitting in qualifying. Right now, you've got a Corvette up on top, but look at this, Jim Feliz just puts himself into third on the grid, jumps Kwok Nin, and now all of a sudden, I almost think we've got a 3-horse race for this win.
Yeah, how about that? But you were saying about the manufacturers, that's going to be a talking point today.
Yeah, absolutely. The Corvette P1, the Porsche P2, P3 now, and the Corvette P4 with the Ferrari 296 in P5. That is the top 5 positions when it comes to manufacturers, car makes, and I gotta tell you, I'm always excited to see a track that gives a lot of different makes a chance to win.
And with that being said, drivers now coming in to finish up their runs. As overall, 36 entries for today's race. Let's take a look at how they'll start tonight. Luke Wallace set the pole time today over McKay. Wallace keeping up what's been some rapid pace the past few weeks. Jim Feliz and Kwok Nin, row 2. Row 3, William Fenson keeping up what's been a strong burst of momentum for the Fenson brothers car. Joshua Chinsky alongside. Then it's the Costellos of SRT Orange, Tony and Joey. Joey able to build up a buffer with the M pole. Jared Keane and Caleb Lehman are in the top 10, half a second back. Zoe Sayad and Colin McKenzie the top 12. Sean Provo and Vincent Genero in your 14th spot. Jay Steffi, Waldo Walden amongst one of the top BAM drivers in 16th. Christopher Rhines and David Morse in your top half of the field. Nick Bruno, David Bush the third in 20th. My judge will start 21st. Andrew Trinket in 22nd. Jared Duploy and Dale Peterson, they'll start 24th. Mark Elliott, Brett Pancari, Dan Elgin, and Regan Chandler deep in the field. Robert Jeffries and Bryce Bombeck gets himself in 30th. 31st went to Cabana, Ryan Chandler in 32nd. Scott Jeffries, your last to set a time. 3 drivers did not set times though for today. Sean Mulholland, Mark Kalin, and Kevin Bergquist will all start at the tail from the Nürburgring. On that note, as the drivers get ready for what is a very cool track setting in the early morning, about 8:25 in sim, your keys to do well today, Dylan.
I think the biggest thing is just making sure you don't get too worried, concerned about some of the traffic that I think some of the top runners will see over the course of this race. It's not the biggest track in the world, and because of that, because there's a lot of passing zones, I know some people don't necessarily feel that way, but I feel like this is a good track to get passes done if you've got a fast car. It's also a difficult track to get around the traffic. So I think just keeping your head on straight, that's the biggest thing.
We'll see who's going to be able to keep their head on the best today. Who do you think is going to get the job done today and why?
I mean, the real question is, can Luke Wallace and Evan McKay stop a run from Jim Feliz? Because Jim Feliz is one of those drivers that you usually see at the top of the session and qualifying the entire time, but he's also a driver that gets better as the race goes on, as the sessions go on. It gets him more into the mindset, gets him more into that race mode. Jim Feliz jumping into P3. I'd say that's a scary sight to see in your rear view mirror if you are the driver of that 27 Corvette or the Porsche.
Just waiting for the last couple moments. One driver has missed starting grid towards the tail, it appears. Outside of that, everyone else has made it to the grid. That driver who missed it was Sean Mulholland this time for this race. So overall, prime conditions to go racing. Any final thoughts before we get ourselves to the start zone?
Man, I'm just ready to get a move on with this race. Early morning, cool track temperature, tire wear will not at all be of any concern here. The question is, do cars want to go with an undercut? Will they fuel up enough? We'll have to see as they go through this final S curve, that GT curve. I'm ready to get going here, JP. This is going to be a lot of fun.
iRacing safety car is off to the safety of pit road. Luke Wallace in control. Happy to have you with us. PRL GT3 Fixed Series. Green flag is out. We're underway from Germany. And Wallace already clear, but the battle is on for second. Feliz looking to leapfrog. Backs up the corner and the big crash. Here we go. It's bowling pins. William Vinson amongst those sending cars through in the Ferrari. Absolute scenes of pileups and a stack up from the opening corner.
Oh man, that's the worst absolute start you could possibly get here. I mean, turn one, it always feels like it can be a mess. You've got this very tight or big wide entrance, a tight corner that goes downhill. It's right for moments like that.
And that's completely decimated the front runners outside of Luke Wallace. Chinsky up to second. Tony and Joey Costello the top four. Again, how about that? You do not expect that from the initial start of this series, but here we are in this one. Tony already looking for second.
He's trying to make something happen. I mean, yeah, we're talking about all these front runners just out of this race. For Luke Wallace, I mean, this is a prime opportunity to get his second win of the season. I mean, it's a second pole. If he can convert that into a win with Jim Feliz, his main championship rival, all the way in the back. I mean, this is potentially a championship-defining race here.
This might end up being a drop for many, yeah. McKay's all the way back in 15.
I mean, absolutely. Jim Feliz, his worst result was last round where he got 50 points and still a top 5. So, I mean, right now is where we start to see the drop loops get factored in. Once the live points go across your screen, drop loops are not factored in there, so we get a replay as a note. But the official standings will have them factored in. Look at that. This is just a mess, and is that a Ferrari that went across the screen, just going bowling there? Would you call that a turkey? We've got 3 cars.
That was William Vinson. I'm not sure what exactly happened there, but we can definitely tell you Vinson is hurt from that as well. His front end destroyed from the contact.
Not shocking.
Yeah, that's kind of put a shock to the whole field, though, it seems. Everyone just trying to be able to adjust here. We're still not even 3 minutes in.
It's not going to be easy for any of the drivers who have been given a spot to fight for a podium position or even potentially the win to keep their head on straight. Remember, that's what we were talking about, some pre-race talking points. But if they're able to do that, then absolutely we might have a race on our hand. But Luke Wallace, I mean, he's been given a golden opportunity. The fastest in qualifying. All of his near competitors are out of it. So could see him run away with it. He's 1.7 seconds up. That gap has increased over the last few seconds of me talking. Only 3+ minutes into this race. So we'll see how it goes. The ebbs and the flow, it always changes.
Those ever-changing flows still have 31.5 minutes to work with, give or take. Jared Keane wants those in the top 5 from all this. He's had flashes of speed this season, but obviously going to have a bit of a shuffle to have to get up to the field here. He is staying in a line and working with the Ferrari in front.
Trying to do what he can. I mean, remember, we were talking about the top 5 cars in this race being, Corvette, the Ferrari, the Porsche. Let's talk real quick about Tony Costello. I know we're focusing on him right now, but He's that lone Audi at the top of the board right now. I think there's only 2 Audis that were entered into this race, and I'm pretty sure was not in it. As we see Jared Deploy going around on the replay right there, and not too much harm, not too much foul. We just have to get back on the course.
Yeah, that's continuing on with what's been the trend today. Lots of sloppy spins around this racetrack. Take a look at some of the air groupings, like William Fenton. We mentioned the damage. Kwok Nin, he's right now right behind him. Kwok ended up picking up some damage himself to the right front from all that on this Corvette.
Yeah, and that's problematic here. It's some of the faster corners in this track on this circuit. You know, it's not going to necessarily affect him all around. He'll still be able to be competitive. Who's that? Is that Chinsky? Oh, remember, we're talking about keeping your head on straight. Chinsky was the guy in the catbird seat, and now he's given way from second all the way back down to try and defend his 9th place position. What happened to him?
His Corvette was running in second, 1.6 seconds behind the leader. Not anymore. That's going to see him all the way back to the 9th position. Just on his own.
Man, it's just, again, you get so excited because you've just been given an opportunity. You're trying to push harder and harder and harder. You start to see that gap either increasing a little bit or just not coming down. And then you just kind of, you know, again, lose your head. It's important to not let that bother you from here on out. You still have a top 10 position. You still keep fighting. Maybe the seldom most shot of a podium position. Just keep on going. Keep on trucking. A lot of race left in this fixed series race.
So the Costellos, this is the highest an AM driver's been all season, mind you. Currently looking comfortable in the podium positions. How about that for the AM standings? If that was to stick, that might make things very untouchable for a bit for Joey Costello in the standings.
Yeah, that's a really great point right there, Justin. You know, we talk about the, not just the overall standings, but there are also pro and class standings that we talk about here. And they're not measures. We see the live standings in the pro class. Remember, the live standings are without the drop week configured into it, so we'll have to do some manual math to get that. And there's our pro standings right now. Jim Feli's 22-point advantage because of the drop week, though. That's obviously changing. That might go the way of Lee Wallace. We'll have to see once this race is all said and done. The M class and the pro class, they earn points based on their overall positioning, not necessarily where they finish in class. So Joey Costello finishing 3rd overall. If this race ended now, he'd get 3rd place points, and Sean Provost down at 11th would get 11th place points. He wouldn't get 2nd place points, and that's huge. Exactly why it's so important to bring that up, Justin.
Yeah, this is going to be we've seen it. If you've gotten a good track position in the M class in this series, at least, most people have been able to at least keep it. It's going to take major mistakes from Costello for him to slot back in the order. Also, mind you, in this choo-choo train effect, Lehman has moved up 5. So Caleb Lehman's doing some moves as well to be able to get his car in the right direction after starting edge of top 10. So a lot of people in this choo-choo train trying to make some leaps and bounds before pit stop soon.
And don't forget, Lehman was one of those drivers we were watching along in qualifying who was really pushing it and went off track. So, I mean, it's qualifying is qualifying. You get your 1 lap in, and even if you get damage in iRacing, you're fine to go for the race. I mean, I wouldn't call it redemption, but certainly he had a spin. Now it's time to settle in and get battling here as we see a battle for 2nd in the M class. Really developing here between Provost and Waldo Walden. Colin McKenzie is 4th in the M class. He's a few seconds behind, but only 14th overall.
Yeah, just continue to work together here. Remain patient, it seems. Vincent General, mind you, one of his better runs of the season. He's had a lot of bad luck this season in his BMW, a lot of trouble to be able to keep it clean this race so far. He's seems to have been able to keep it clean in the green and silverish brown. So 25 minutes to work with. Let's look up towards the front again, back to Lehman's talking point. Big race last time for Mr. Googly Eyes to be able to take away the top spot and 52 points his direction. It wasn't a surprise per se because of the speed if you've been following along with the storylines, but he has a rapid car for the end of that one last time at Spa.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we so follow along with this battle in fifth for a pro position, fifth or sixth overall, I should say, Quackman is doing a pretty solid job, even with that damage of staying where he is, but also I feel like, you know, we see right here, he tries to make a move down the damaged William Fenson, and he gets that move complete heading into turn one. He now rides on board with Pete Magia, currently a little bit back there overall, and also top 5 in the class. I will say, Justin, this is a smaller field than we're used to seeing this season in GT3 Fixed. Still, though, with 35 cars, that's big.
Right up on the wheel right now, trying to follow along in line. He seemed to be like one of the early favorites for AM. He slid back a bit. Provost still working in the choo-choo train effect. He's gone up to Waldo Walden. It's just behind him. This is again battle for 11. This is for second best points at AM.
That is wild looking battle. What we saw on the bottom right, battle for 11th going on overall. William Fenson now right on board with Fenson. He's got that damage. You ever get into a feeling that, you know, if you're the driver who at the very start of the race is the reason that so many cars are either out of it or have suffered some damage, you ever that changes the mentality of your racecraft going forward for the remainder of the event, right? You don't want to push too hard, so it might lead to you being a little bit too passive in some situations. It's difficult to get back into that mindset where you know you made a massive mistake. You screwed it. Well, how do you move on from it? You can't just cower. You gotta just keep moving forward. You ever see Meet the Robinsons? Keep moving forward, man.
Good point. This is racing where if you stay stagnant, a lot of people will pass you along the way. Trying to utilize that for life as well. But Luke Wallace is up by 3 seconds still. He's putting on what we've seen at Brands Hatch on pace. He's obviously not in the safe bowl, but I mean, doesn't really matter when you have this quick of a pace on the field.
No, not really. I think, you know, you can always get an extra half a second. I mean, what he's doing right here, Luke Wallace, is putting some time on the rest of the field where he gives himself that availability to add an extra lap's worth of fuel in case he needs it. Yes, he would be suffering from a long in, out, and in box pit time, but still, I would always prefer to be a little bit safe rather than sorry, especially with a 3+ second lead on the rest of the pack. It doesn't seem like Wallace is really struggling too much. It doesn't seem like he's pushing too hard. I mean, he was the fastest driver in qualifying. Only 2 drivers were able to put it within a 10th and a half of him. So I don't know if he's pushing it necessarily. I think he's just in the zone right now. Everyone else is fighting in behind.
Just a calm cycle at this point. I believe that is Lehman's viewpoint. Now falling on board with, yes. And still going hard onto the wheel. You can see very intensely that setup. Not just the VR, but also just tapping that Sim Magic, it looks like it might be. Very intense wheel, to say the least. You want to be able to feel things out on the wheel movement in a race car.
Yeah, 100%. You know, if you don't have, for most of these drivers in the field, In sim racing, all of the feedback you're getting that is not visual, that is actually physical feedback, is in the wheel. Well, right here, the visual feedback is quite wild with an HP Reverb G2 VR headset. I always love seeing Brett Macari's, this looks almost like a shop of sorts, where you walk in. Have you ever been into one of those, I don't want to call it a thrift store, just one of those old mom and pop retro video game stores that has that good smell of vintage wood and video game cases that haven't been opened yet? That's what I imagine that room smells like.
Yeah, it is a...
Any comments on that?
It's a... I'm not sure what to say outside of it's a distinct room. It's had a lot of different looks. It's had a movie store style shelving in the past. It's had a lot of different looks so far over the course of Macari!
No!
Here we go again. McKay around this time. And yet again, one of your front runners in the championship is struggling. McKay, dealing with damage from earlier, spins it around.
I mean, again, that's... You kind of got the short end of the stick earlier in this race. The worst thing you can do is self-inflicted damage. That's exactly what that was for McKay. He just sent it in way too deep. And this is just beautiful to see for Luke Wallace. I'm sure he doesn't even know where the heck anybody else is in this race. He's just worried about taking care of his business. If it ends up with him getting a championship lead, he's going to be all the happier for it. By the way, Justin, we're almost halfway through this race. You know what that means? It stops.
Yeah. McKay's come into pit, by the way. Same for Ian Cabana. Cabana's also had significant damage with the Grikey eSports machine. Looks like he just tapped the back end of the car in front of Walden.
Yeah, he just totally went in too deep into that corner and really tried to keep that car under power and in control. Couldn't do it. And that, of course, ends up with the mistake happening. Tony Costello lost a bit of momentum out of that corner, and he's trying to defend here. Jared Keen's got a better apex into the corner and might have some momentum coming out of it. I mean, right now, this is the, well, I wanted to say the Costello caboose, but he's the opposite right now. The Tony train. It was right there in front of me.
Yeah, now Keen able to jump up that spot. That's going to be helpful for his chances right now. About midway through the race right here. Pit stops and expected for most of the field within the next 4 or 5 minutes. This race has flown on by here at the very least. The Nürburgring always puts on some exciting racing, but has been extremely challenging today. Why do you think that is for these drivers? Because Lehman just cut the grass in the backdrop as well.
Well, why do I think it's, you know, this race in particular? I don't think there's any particular reason except, you know, it's the second half of the season now. Drivers are starting to get a bit antsy where they are in the standings. They're thinking about it maybe a little bit too much. But sometimes, Justin, you just get a perfect blend of things happening. At the very start of the race, one driver made a mistake at the front of the field. It impacted a lot of the championship competitors, and since then, it's a domino effect. Everyone's trying to get back up front, who was up front to start off this race, and they're struggling to do so. It's not exactly working out for them the way it was supposed to work out for them when this race started. Because of that, you're seeing a lot more aggression, more mistakes happening throughout the field. And it's not all down to that one incident at the beginning, but I gotta say, it's that accordion effect.
Yeah, keep an eye on those battles still, most of them staying stagnant for the time being, but now the fuel strategy is expected to be the big separator. And with the fixed side at the very least, it's always been challenging, at least to me it seems, to break away. The balance is there in this series in terms of car manufacturer. It's all about the driver in a lot of these cases. And so far,
100%,
yeah,
100%, Justin. You know, we're talking about the driver being the main reason in these fixed series races for, you know, success or the lack thereof. And I feel like, especially in a GT3 car where balance of performance is massively fine-tuned, you know, sometimes you will have a stronger car here or there in iRacing, but the parity, I'd say, in this season of iRacing is pretty fantastic compared to what we usually see as we ride on board with Guac. Currently in P5, I mean, this is a pretty solid recovery drive.
Yeah, so far, so very solid indeed. Really get by Benson despite the damage, and right now is slowly chipping away at the gap in front despite it. Still needs to pick up a couple tenths to be able to keep up with the others in the group. Right now, the average pace on the racetrack, mind you, in the 155 3s to 6s, depending on where drivers are in the queue. Joey, he is proving if you give him track position, he can keep it.
Yeah, I think that, you know, if he can have that track position, Joey Costello has currently solidified his place right outside that podium spot, but Joey and Tony, I gotta say, the Costellos are doing some impressive things right here, and Joey can still get not just a podium, but second. This race is far from over for second and third, or anywhere in the top 5, but I do have to say, I mean, we haven't seen Luke Wallace pit yet, but is this the easiest race? As whoa!
Big slowdown, massive slowdown from Jared Keane. Heard a kickoff of sand. I think Keane might have cut part of the corner and immediately serves a slowdown.
I'm surprised he did that as immediately as he did, because then the momentum just is not with him whatsoever. That's a massive loss of time. I mean, it's pretty much a 3-second penalty.
Yeah, he took it right from the rip. Looks like driver's able to go a little bit further than our normal range, it seems. We usually have seen a pit party by around this point for some of the races this season. Right now, Guaknim up to 4th with that mistake from Keane, by the way. Benson, despite all the damage on his car, has held on to 6th.
Yeah, and Fenton doing that job of his right now, even with the damage. I mean, hey, listen, it was his fault for the incident, as far as we saw on lap 1, turn 1. But he has done a solid job of quietly staying up there. Yes, he's impacted the championship battle with that move, but he is making up for it with his own racecraft as it carries on. There are still 13 minutes. And race drivers are going to be race car drivers. He's only 2 seconds back of the podium spot. How aggressive will he be? That's a good question to have and to ask of him. Watch this battle for second in the N class, second, third, and fourth in the N class, next to each other.
Yeah, McKenzie, coming back from some slowdowns earlier on, has at least gotten into position in the queue. Just needs to be able to close up to be able to have a shot at Walden and company. What do you think is going through Sean's mind right now in a race like this, knowing he's kind of just ran in place in terms of positioning since the onset?
Hey, it's better than losing positions. I mean, I know you want to continue moving up the ladder, but considering his AM class rating here, I feel like that is a very solid expectation. Hold your spot after qualifying. And look at this. You saw the slowing down of the car through that chicane. Jared Keane has brought it down pit lane, as have many others here. Luke Wallace stays out. Joey Costello stays out. So does William Fenson. Caleb Lehman. There's a lot of drivers coming into the pits here with just under 12 minutes to go in the race.
So it's pit party time here at the Nürburgring. And not that per se difficult of an entry. Just have to get to the right side of the curbing and get yourself to speed by the yellow cone. A couple speeding penalties or black flags for incident points, though, have built this lap. Mark Kalin and Dale Peterson have both picked up black flags, the latter on the entry at the cone.
Oh, man, that's Those are big mistakes. You can't listen. I know all the drivers who are trying to be over aggressive to get those spots made up, but I cannot understand for the life of me. I mean, I can. The race car drivers. Again, you're gonna think with foot first, mind second when it comes to being in charge of one of these cars. His fencing got very wiggly there. You're not going to gain anything more than half a tenth by speeding a little bit into the pit. So just calmly get in there. There's a lot more to lose than there is to gain.
You're right on that mark. So we're about to see these drivers hit their marks for the pit road pretty soon in the next moment or so. Take a look at some of the others. Provo, he's cycled behind Genero. He's gained a little bit of ground on the racetrack, I believe. In fact, a sizable mark because Bergquist yet to take pit stop service. A lot of time lost for some of the others. Jared Deploy yet to take service. Jared Keen's also just had an issue on the racetrack. He's in the grass as Luke Wallace is in the pits. Pit party time for your main front runners.
Yeah, it seems like this is going to be the preferred pit section for mostly everyone. Joshua Chinsky is going to run it long here. He'll take over the lead of this race. Man, what could have been for Chinsky, who made the mistake from second? He was handed that second place spot. He was running well and a little bit slower than Wallace in the beginning, and he just absolutely made mistakes, and it cost him as this race has gone on. Luke Wallace back out, and I got to say, Wallace with a absolutely blinding stop. That was, well, mine just updated. Maybe not as blinding as I thought.
Well, it's still 10.5, still solid. How about near 3 wide with the traffic down the front straightaway, though? Jared Keen coming off a spin this past lap and a half. David Morse and Andrew Trinket. Nick Bruno also making contact in the Trash Panda car.
Yeah, I did not like where that was going. I mean, look at this. You've got cars coming out of the pits. The 21 goes for a little bit of a spin all on their own. And that's not going to be a good feeling, losing all those positions. David Morse.
Not great at all. That's an understatement there once again. And so with about 8 minutes to work with on the racetrack, Chinsky the only one yet to pit. Right now, Kwoknin in line for possibly fourth here, depending on how things go with Chinsky, but has to fight with Caleb Lehman for it.
Oh man, Lehman and Nin. I mean, listen, both all these drivers have suffered damage or made mistakes in this race. How do you feel if you're Kwoknin and you see Caleb Lehman in that McLaren with the googly eyes in behind?
How would I feel? Well,
yeah.
I'd just be feeling like just don't make a mistake, regardless. No, we know he's aerodynamically compromised on the right front at least. Chinsky is into the pit lane, so this should officially cycle things. David Morse, what happened to him again here? We'll see.
This is just compounding mistakes I think we'll see from Morse in that 21 machine. Everything looks so far so good through the chicane, and he tries to make a move in the final corner, the Coca-Cola curve, and gets a little bit tight, loses some ground, and this is a replay of what happened, yes. I think. Yeah, right when he had his mistake. Going 3 wide. Man, that's some great racing with the Canadian driver in the middle. Oh, JP.
Yeah, but that big cut nearly caused a big issue for the middle car. At that point, Morse at this point, yeah.
You saw what happened. Totally overloaded the tires by trying to swing back out wide before arcing into the corner, and that was a little bit too much energy being put through the rubber. He tries to make the turn, and the tires are hot, and it's just unbalanced at that point.
Lehman seems to be on the charge, though, pretty soon here. 6 minutes to try and get a pass. That's expected to be about 3 laps or so to do it. Where does Caleb try and make this work?
I mean, you're going to have to look at a heavy braking zone. There's no better spot to make a move than turn 1. Jared Keane. Oh, man. I don't think he hit the wall, which is surprising because it looked like that car was not going to come to a stop. What a unfortunate race for a lot of the drivers we thought could maybe challenge Luke Wallace, who has the lead for it. But I know Luke Wallace has been fantastic. He's been pretty much spotless and perfect, but let's give a hand to Joey Costello right here. Unbelievable job as, oh, wait a second, before we do that, AM-Class second place battle, Provost and Walden don't go way back to the outside. Woohoo! That shouldn't have worked out.
Provost able to get the run more so out of the chicane. And then now Walden trying to find a way to make an attack again. Already defensive maneuvers from Provost as Walden breaks even on the straightaway in terms of speed.
Man, I feel like that should not have worked out as well as it did.
Provost right now trying to play some aggressive defense here. Not surprised he's been in this spot all race. I'm guessing for very obvious reasons, you don't want to give up second spot in AM at this point.
Oh, there's a spin right in behind. We're talking about not giving up second spot. How about fourth? Colin McKenzie in the AM class was chasing after a podium finishing position in AM. Unfortunate, though, he's not going to get it unless there's a mistake between Provost and Walden in front. Just making the mistake again. Drivers just kind of losing their heads a little bit, attempting to fly through and make some moves. This is a battle for overall podium and second in pro. We're not usually talking about second in pro being third overall. That just goes to show you how much of an anomaly and a good job that Joey Costello has been and is doing.
Great run so far from the Costellos, but Kwok Nim wants a podium and wants it quickly. He's been trying to recover from the early going for much of this race. Seems to have a little bit more rhythm right now with under 4 minutes to go. Just waiting for the right place to go. Right now, you can see the swope coming in as there's McKenzie's spin. McKenzie getting loose off the back end. Not in position as Kwok Nim in the lower box yet.
That could have been bad if the traffic in behind did not see him in time. Joey Costello with a bit of a defensive maneuver as Tony tries to chase him down. That's pretty cool for those two.
Yeah, this is great for Joey. This is huge for him again in the GAM standings. If he's able to hold on to a podium spot, let alone the second spot on the racetrack. Kwok seems to be quicker in the second sector in particular, but the problem is that's not an easy place to pass.
Yeah, not at all. It's really, you got to be fast coming back to the line to make a move as we see the pro standings here. Standings in the AM class showing the drivers that are in the top 10 in each class. And, I mean, there's only one. Well, I guess Sean Provost has moved his way into 10th.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, but 2.5 minutes to work with. Still expecting a couple more laps, maybe one lap. We'll see what they get at the flag stand by the time they get there. It's going to be close with Luke Wallace putting on dominating pace, but Kwok Nim still yet to make a move, still yet to get close enough to even think about it for the front straightaway.
Yeah, and I think when they come back to the line that they'll only have, I don't know, I want to say it's going to be one more lap. We'll see where Luke Wallace or when he crosses the line. You'd have to think at this point, one lap to go here.
Average lap. Yeah, average lap, 100-minute 55.
Look at this.
Oh, sand again for Kwok Nim. Not there. But we are possibly on the final lap. We'll see what we get on the confirmation. Right now, Tony Costello, Kwok Nim battling second in pro class. Kwok Nim not close enough for a lunge. A bit more closer for a lunge for second place point still, though it's Tony on Joey. Not able to get a lunge on there.
Trying everything that they can do to break their way into second or just the podium. Joey Costello making that Ferrari as wide as possible, but these two drivers, they're trying everything they can. I mean, look at Tony Costello. He went off track just a little bit. This is going to be an impressive performance no matter what, but if Joey can keep that second place spot, you got to hand it to him. What a drive.
An impressive run for Joey today, regardless of how you slice it. Through to the start of the second sector, into the second half of the racetrack. As they go through Goodyear curve. No moves for Kwok Nim, still stays in line, still needs to close up a car lane to realistically have a shot with 30 seconds to go as they go through Michael Schumacher S.
Just awesome racing here. Look at this, a quick look to the inside as they just have a couple more quarters. I think Joey Costello has it, but this is a battle for the podium, and there's going to be a big run here for Kwok Nim to come down into Tony Costello.
Making the way through Advent Bogan. Big run heading to the Vidal chicane. Will there be a poke? We'll see in a moment. Oh, that's with Luke Wallace. Confirmed to get the checkered here. Luke Wallace puts on a dominating performance and wins by 7 seconds at the Nürburgring. Second spot going to an AM driver. Joey Costello gets top spot at AM. Tony Costello holds on for third.
Just awesome racing. Awesome racing in the podium positions. I mean, if you're Kwok Nim, you're frustrated because you were this close to getting it done. But Joey Costello, I mean, Luke Wallace was perfect. Don't get me wrong. He deserves all of the flowers for his performance. But I got to say, Joey Costello, I think, turned a lot of heads tonight. He's got that AM Class Championship lead, and certainly he's extended that.
Impressive one, to say the least, from Luke Wallace. Outright dominant from the onset. Got some help with the trouble behind, but we knew from the onset with what he was able to do in final practice and especially qualifying, the pace was going to be there. Just waiting for the last of the drivers to cross the stripe. 33 racers finish on the lead lap in this one. All but 2 finishing the race. Luke Wallace, Joey Costello, and Tony Costello finish unofficially top 3. Nim, Lehman, Fenson, Shinsky, Sead, Genero, and Provost. And your top 10, 22 seconds to spread. Otto Walden finished 11, Jay Steffi in 12, Christopher Rines in 13th, McKenzie, along with Bush III, Bruno Trinket, Jarek Keane after a flurry of spins in 18th, Brett Pancari and Pete Maija in 20th. Regan Chandler, Mark Elliott, Jim Feliz, all the way back in 23rd. That's a drop week, if anything's ever been said like that. David Morse, Ryan Chandler, Ian Cabana, Jared Deploy, Bryce Bombeck, Dan Elgin, and Kevin Berquist in a sea of AM drivers. Robert Jeffries and Scott Jeffries towards the tail. Dale Peterson, last of the lead lap after a speeding penalty. Mark Kalin, DNF's 5 laps down. Evan McKay parked it 9 laps down. Sean Mulholland did not take part. Let's look top to bottom at tonight's running order unofficially here from the Nürburgring for the fixed side. Where in the end it's Luke Wallace who puts on a tear of a performance. Luke, outright dominant pace. How are you feeling after this run here tonight that sees you run away by 7 seconds for your second win of the season?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, the incident that happened in turn 1, lap 1 really just set me up for a great race. I didn't have to push much, and yeah.
All in all, though, how would you describe now the season with the momentum starting to build? Started off with Brent a couple weeks ago, Brands Hatch. It's really built on since then. 50-plus points now in 4 straight races.
Yeah, the second half of the season, I liked a lot of the tracks, and I mean, I guess they must fit the Corvette quite perfectly. Yeah, I mean, it'll be tough between me and Jim, and I think Evan. I'm not sure where he finished this race, but assuming he finished okay, it should be pretty close between us, and it should be a good battle.
Well, for Evan McKay, it was a DNF. For Jim Felice, it was a 23rd with what happened on the opening lap. But we head to the Italian swing next. Mugello Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I know it'll be a wet race, so I'm honestly looking forward to it. Should be quite an equalizer, and we'll see who can really drive.
Any shout-outs you'd like to give here tonight?
Yeah, thanks again to the team, to my family, everyone watching. Yeah, always enjoy you guys watching, enjoy working with the team, and I appreciate being on this team.
Congratulations once again on the run tonight, Luke.
Thank you.
Luke Wallace picks up the win tonight by 7+ seconds. Second spot overall and top spot at AM, Joey Costello puts on the second best performance in the race. He puts on the top AM spot and the overall podium. He's with Dylan.
Yeah, it's not often that we get to talk to an overall podium finisher and the AM class winner all in one fall swoop. Great race, gotta say, Joey. You were very impressive. The defense you showed to Tony Costello and Kwok Ninh late in that one, just hats off to you. Gotta ask, are you sweating a little bit?
I am, yeah. I think that's my best race yet, but also my hardest. It was a blast. I was losing tires at the end, but just tried to stay as focused as I could. But yeah, really good fun out there.
I mean, you've been putting on a really good show as of late. Last race was your highest finish in a race all season long. This is your first, not just podium or top 5, but of course your first podium. You feel like in the final few races, the final 3 races of this year, you've already given yourself a really healthy lead in the AM Championship standings. Is the goal more you want to get a win or you want to win the AM Championship? What kind of comes first for you?
Well, the AM Championship, I think, comes first. I didn't think I was going to be close to a race win until today happened, and of course I, benefited from the misfortune of a couple other drivers at the beginning of the race. But it was really fun to kind of put it up there and just kind of duke it out with the guys who normally run up there.
Well, I gotta say, Joey, a lot of fun to see what you are able to do. AM class winner. I mean, you look at any of the final few races in the season. Do you circle one of them as, hey, this is a race that I'm going to really have to focus on, or it might be a little bit more difficult?
I think Mugello in the rain. Yep, I think Mugello is a technical track and is going to be only tougher in the rain. So putting in some good time there and making sure I keep it on track to kind of hold the advantage that I've given myself.
Fantastic. Well, Joey, anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Of course, my family, my wife, and Team SRT. I get to run with guys who are fighting for wins every week, and it's helped me really pick up my pace. So fortunate for that. Thank you, Dylan.
Not a problem. Joey Costello is fighting for wins himself now in that SRT machine. Justin, you are, of course, going to be standing by with our third place finisher in Kwok Ninh. And what an impressive performance for Kwok, coming back from some early race difficulties.
Actually, third spot tonight went the way of Tony Costello.
Oh,
overall.
Yeah, I was thinking different Costello. My bad.
Yeah, Tony, you put guys on a podium run tonight. Double Costello podium. What's your perspective?
Oh, well, first off, I got to say, man, Joey had a great race. I don't know if you guys know, that's my son. So to be racing with him and to see him every week getting quicker and quicker, and then finally getting quicker than me, is just awesome. It was a really fun race. To Joey's point, I think, we got some good fortune, unfortunately, for some people that had turn 1 incidents, but started to lose tires towards the end, and just had, I was kind of in, just safe mode towards the end, trying to just bring it home.
Yeah, and tonight overall, it seemed to be a bit of a challenging race, and for many, what was the biggest challenge about keeping it on the racetrack, and why?
Yeah, I think the tires actually got loose, or the track got loose, and there's a couple corners where you can really make a mistake there and throw away the whole race. And towards the end of the race, I was actually letting off a little bit just to be safe. But yeah, it's a great racetrack, but not a simple one either. So yeah, I wish I wouldn't have missed the first 2 rounds now. I was on vacation the first 2 rounds of PRL, so I missed those 2 races. So that's a shame. I'd be further up in the standings.
Well, the next race is expected to potentially be a rainy one at Magellan. Your thoughts on that?
You know what? I think our whole group, PL racers, are doing really well. I think everybody's gonna, figure it out. Just depends how much it's raining and how much, dampness is on the track. But I love it. I think it's a great equalizer, and I'll definitely be practicing in the rain this week and looking forward to it.
Any shout-outs you'd like to give here after this one?
Yeah, shout out to my son, Joey. I mean, our SRT team is just phenomenal. Great group of people. But man, pretty stoked for my son. So yeah, there you go.
It's again Tony Costello in the third spot overall, second step on the podium when it comes to the pro side. Third step on the pro podium, he's now with Dylan.
All right, I got too excited. I saw Kwok pulled up, and I'm like, yeah, we're going to talk to the overall podium now. It was the pro podium. Kwok, you came back from a really, really struggle at the start. It wasn't even all your fault. First of all, good recovery drive. Are you happy with how that race finished?
Yeah, at first I thought I finished in 4th, and then I look at the standings, so I'm like, wait a minute. I finished in 3rd in the pro. So the entire race, I was fighting so hard, thinking I was gonna get 3rd position. So, I'm glad it turned out the way it did. And Tony Costello put up a good fight. I really enjoyed racing him, even though it was a little bit frustrating.
Now, of course, we saw the timing that you put in qualifying. You qualified 4th overall. You finished the race 4th overall. Points are only given in your pro class for overall finish. Nonetheless, though, this does keep you relatively well within that hunt for the championship by the end. Do you feel like a race where there are struggles all around for some of the championship competitors, with still 3 races to go? I mean, this throws everything at the wall, right? Pretty much a lot of drivers' drop weeks are going to have to be used right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate what happened in the last 2 races, but like these next 3 races, I'm gonna put everything I have into it, whether I'm still in the championship standings or not. But I always like to make it close, make it a good battle. So I'm gonna be putting everything I got into the next 3 rounds.
Well, it's certainly going to be fun to see what you can do. I know Magello is going to be. I want to use the word fun, but I think it's going to be more frustrating when it does rain there. Is that something you're maybe a bit nervous about, or are you just excited to see what's going to happen?
A little bit of both. I believe the first round, I think it was either the preseason or the first round, there was rain, and I was doing pretty good. So the rain is it's really fun for me. At first I hated it, but it's something that a lot of us in the community don't really know how to drive in the rain. So hopefully I can do better than everybody else.
All right. Well, Kwok, anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
I want to give a shout out to JP. He didn't help me this race, but he did help me in the last race or 2. He's a good coach. I thank him for it. And then to you guys, and I want to thank Costello and everyone else on the track to keep it as clean as they possibly could.
All right, Kwok, congratulations on the pro podium, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right. Justin, did he say JP?
I'm not the coach. I'm not sure what JP is talking about.
I really wanted to. For the briefest of seconds, I'm like, oh, Justin Prince, the iRacing coach, and I was excited.
An exciting race, and we get to do it again once more here from Germany.
Conditions.
You just spoiled it.
Shush, we're seeing it being sunny right now. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not
yeah.
anymore.
We have the GT Sprint Series up next, and it's time for a rainy one. How about 100% rainy conditions for this race? And this is going to be a much different feel compared to the sunshine.
just a tad. Oh, I'm excited for it, though. You never know what you're going to get when it does rain. And, yeah, you see it. Justin Prince. I'm Dylan Coyle. And you just see all the trails of water. That this is going to be treacherous. We saw how treacherous it was in the dry here. It's going to be even crazier in the wet as we take a look at these standings.
Karl Moldoff enters today as the provincial points leader. Just 9 points the distance between him and Gregory Homestead. Homestead picking up 56 points. Last time out the drop is when he had the issues at Brands Hatch with his technical side. Rob Clark currently in third with 3 straight 41-point scored outings. That's not going to be good enough to compete for the title. He's back 38. Chris Sowan is in fourth. Dominic Olivier rounding up the top 5. 45 points to spread amongst your top 5. Top 10 separated by 61 points. Kevin Desnoyers quietly has taken that 10th spot in the pro. Devin Brock still leads the way in those standings. Last time he had a rough one, though, just 16 points scored. Chris Stewart, he has a DNF on the season, so the drop's already thrown out the window. He's back 5. Peter Moores up there. Could nap also within 27. Jason Hodgson within 32 points in the AM standings entering today's festivities. Team-wise, what's things looking like over there? Well, Delta Sport yet again keeping up the pace. 4 wins of the 5 so far in terms of the team run, should say. Then SCR able to get themselves up forward. SimCity Racing. Solpeck Precision Racing Gold also is in the 400-point club within 80 points of the top spot. They have the only non-Delta Sport or team victory this season. Fiercely Forward and Goin Racing have also shown some good strides as of late. 93 points scored as a team last time out to get them ahead of SRTE and Unit Sim Sports in their unified outfit. Let's look once more at the standings here today, but rainy conditions called the equalizer after all. The rainy conditions seen times 13 seconds slower compared to the fixed. Chris Sowan is leading the way by 0.4.
That is an unbelievable gap, but I'm not shocked with that gap. You're going to have drivers who are experts in the wet. Chris Sayong has not gotten himself a win this season, only one top 5 for him. But it's not like he's been having a bad year at all. He's 4th in the pro standings, 4th in the overall standings. Greg Holvison in that Lambo right there. I mean, only 6 drivers are within 1 second of provisional pole with over 2 minutes to go here. By the way, that drop-off, it's 13 plus seconds over the dry pole position.
Moldoff still in a good spot, though. A bit of a different look, a bit more on the blue and the red tonight. More than the tan we've seen much of the way. Also some shout-outs to Jack Hedgecock's the top 5 runs so far. Eric Palacio, haven't talked about that name in a while. Also the top 10 in qualifying, less than 2 minutes to work with. A lot of the drivers today going to be fighting to keep it on the racetrack, though. That seems like it's going to be the main thing. With it being 100% rain conditions, it is heavy mist and heavy puddling all around the track.
Yeah, that's going to force drivers to try and find the driest line there is. There's really not going to be a dry line per se, but there will be one that has more grip than the rest. You see the puddling against the curbs there. That's where the water kind of sits. It falls there. When it rains, I mean, it seems obvious to a seasoned rain racer, but the racing line completely changes in the wet. You want to go a little bit wider. Look at that. That's a perfect example of the puddling that happens. You dip those right side tires there, you're going for a little bit of a spin.
Yeah, you don't want to be the one in the spin cycle here over the course of the next 40 minutes. Expected to be less than 20 laps racing, actually, by the way, as a result as well with the rainy conditions and these tires with the channel tires to make sure they keep on the racetrack. Kevin Simpson this time by 2:09.9. That's 0.6 off the top time. And I've noticed for a lot of drivers, it's similar to that you see in the dry, a lot of a rhythm-based qualifying session, usually for your top drivers, and a lot of drivers are saying, you know what, I think the rhythm is not there based on the fact that a lot of them are slowing down to end their laps here with 10 seconds left.
Yeah, and I think at this point, drivers who are still going to be trying to get laps done are going to just try to get practice in, right? That's the biggest thing. If you can get laps of practice in the rain, it's going to, at least a corner or two, it's going to get you a little bit better once race conditions do get going.
So right now, the checker flag is out on the racetrack for the session. We'll see which drivers elect to keep their times going, or which ones will just park their runs. How monsoony the rain has gotten here on this July 27th in-sim day. Aiden Young in 7th. Showed some solid speed at spot last time out. You can just see just the difference in line. How easy it is just to miss the bottom of the racetrack in Goodyear.
Yeah, it's, oh boy, Aiden Young going for a little bit of a slide. That's not going to lead to an increase in time. I was also going to say, Justin, you don't want to be on the curbs too much in the rain either. Traction's already at a premium. You don't want to lose even the smallest of bits of it.
Jack Hedgecox. These Munsos trying to finish their runs right now on the racetrack. A lot of bobbles, to say the least, for the Purple Machine. 2:08.8. Rob Clark, Gregory Humpson in the top 4. Jack Hedgecox and J.R. Williams, your top 6 here today. Near a second difference for the pole time. That's a huge spread today. Next page, that'll feature Aiden Young on it with Kevin Simpson. Then Brandon Thebone, along with Eric Placio. David Holland all the way back at 11th. Emmett Lindquist in the 12th position. David Mendonca starts 13th alongside Martin Crisp. Marc-Andre Garon and Devin Brock is your top AM qualifier, just in front of Chris Stewart. Max Tillinu will start off in 18th position. Arno Janessa and Noah Anderson back in 20th. Thomas Rep, he'll start alongside Miles Brown. Peter Muller deep in the pack with Matt Sheriff in 24th. Nick LaDuque, we've seen him in contention for top 5s all season. He starts 25th in the race. Connor Wagner in 26th. Jeff Carollo, he was questionable due to power issues. Still gets here today alongside Drake Smith. Jason Hodgson and Kyle Robertson, your top 30. Ryan Reeves, Ethan Bass back in 32nd. It's been a rough season. Chris Stouffer, Rob Campbell, and Aaron Beaver. Last set time in the 2:15s. Huge spread on the racetrack here today in the rain at the Nürburgring.
Man, this is gonna be intense. I mean, it's 40 minutes. You got 10% more fuel. There's just so many ways that this race is gonna go down. It's cold. I'm just excited.
Colder conditions compared to the sunshine. So, what are your keys to victory, knowing it's a monsoon out there?
Avoid the carnage in front and pick up positions, pick up the pieces. That's it. That's really it. I mean, there's not much you can do here. You just got to be ready for all the unpredictable stuff. If you predict the unpredictable, it's not unpredictable.
So, who do you predict then? Who's going to be able to come out on top of this one?
I mean, it's hard to go with anybody other than the pole sitter in a race like this, right? The pole sitter in the rain, in wet weather qualifying, in a wet weather race, to me, is always the driver to beat. I don't think anyone's touching Chris Sion in this one.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race today. 4/10 the difference in qualifying. Just waiting for the last drivers to hit the grid. They have less than 30 seconds to work with. What can you work with on the setup to be able to improve things in the rain if you aren't prepared for a race like this?
I mean, realistically, you just want to make this car as comfortable to drive as possible, right? I know loose is fast, you might want to set up this car that it's not too aggressive of a setup. You want to make up spots, but if you're not comfortable racing in the rain, you want to make up those spots by the misfortunes of others.
Looks like all cars have made their way to the starting grid. It's time to get ourselves rolling in the rain tonight here on RaceSpot. Who are you keeping an eye on the most outside of your front row here?
I mean, man, that's a hard question to answer. I feel like Hovesen, we saw him a little bit in qualifying in that Lamborghini. I think he can maybe put on a good show. Hovesen currently sitting second in the championship, 9 points behind Karl Modolf. But I feel like in a race like this is one where he could maybe shine. Modolf, by the way, as we start to get going here with green flag conditions, he's already had his drop week counted. Did not start in round 2, so that could be something to look out for in this race.
Happy to have you with us for the Sprint Series side of the card here for the PRL. Green flag is waving. Chris Owen already off and away as the mist is on. Green flag is out. We're racing from the Nürburgring in the rain. Modolf having to work through a huge amount of rooster tails. Gregory Hobson having to do the same as the wiper blades are in full force.
There is no reason that the top 10 has gotten through more easily in this one, through corner number 1, than in the drive, but I'll digress.
To the Mercedes Arena, they work through. Gregory Hobson contact. He's just trying to shove Rob Clark wide. Clark able to stay stable. This is allowing Chris Owen to run away with all the battling on the racetrack. A little bit of a tight call there.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable for sure, as all these drivers trying to find the right amount of grip in the wet weather conditions. Hovesen, though, remember, he was my other driver to look out for. He's made his way into a podium spot. Rob Clark is really struggling at the start of this race. A lot of drivers trying to make up positions, and he looks to be a bit of a cone out there.
Had a couple off tracks, including David Holland on the racetrack, though. Others keeping stationary, at least for now, on the racetrack in position. Rob Clark able to hold off some of the pushing. Here's Holland, not able to withstand his.
Ooh, that's I want to get another look at that, because it looked like he came up ever so slightly as the car on the outside was just turning in through the corner there, and that's unfortunate for David Holland, who is not having himself the season he's wanted. Very inconsistent.
A lot of off tracks for Clark. He nearly spun it around on the grass. Hitchcock's forced to check up, same for Aiden Young, and it's not looking that stable for Clark.
Not at all. Clark is struggling so much right now. I mean, if Hitchcock's and Young can get their things together, this could be a very difficult race for Clark. Yeah, he's lost in just a lap, 2.5 seconds to the leader. I mean, it's the wet weather racing, right? As we see too wide, a little bit of wiggle, trying to get the car slowed down as Hitchcock's. Was there some contact? It looked like it.
Yeah, got a little bit chirpy there. And yet again, near contact to the arena section. Second straight lap for Rob Clark, this time on the opposite side. Hitchcock's now making contact with his rear end.
Man, racing through the arena in the rain, I gotta say, it's been top-notch in the first 2 laps.
Extremely darty, extremely tight, extremely nerve-wracking so far with how it's worked so far. Jared Williams also stuck in this queue as well, starting to close in a bit on this battle. It's been a wild start once again here, but again, showcasing the rain model in full effect. A lot of people trying to avoid the puddles that have built up on the inside curbing here.
Yeah, and by avoiding those puddles, you take a longer way around the racetrack, but if you go through the puddles, if you try and take the typical dry racing line, you're going to struggle. you're gonna have a little bit of an off hydroplaning. How can you even see back there? There's a move behind Clark. A little bit of a dive bomb into the corner there. That could have been quite nasty of a surprise. You can't really see going through 11 and 12, but man, Kyle Robertson, we get a replay here of an incident. Ooh, that's just racing.
Bit of a slide at the back of the group. Rob Clark now being pressurized again on ascend. Hedgecox wants to go, and he wants to go fast, but the problem is, grip's not there, obviously.
This is going to be a big dive into the first corner. Let's see. Hedgecox wanting to get by Rob Clark immediately. He looked down the inside, could not make the move work, so he pulled back in line. Smart right there. He was a far distance back, and look at how wide at the exit Clark's getting.
Yeah, different approaches and different angles, but Clark just trying to play defense. Just 5 minutes to the racing so far in this one, by the way. Already, the gap staying within a second of the lead. What happened to Drake Smith? Oh boy. What else can he say? Trying to lock it up and keep it off the wall.
I mean, did a pretty solid job.
He has pit.
So maybe not.
Yeah, already in pit road. Picked up some contact to the left front from that spin. Rob Campbell also did not get himself going from the starting blocks, as a lap down, in fact. Looking at some of your movers and shakers, as expected, qualifying being very pivotal in the early going.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I don't know if it's necessarily been important as much an indication of how these drivers are going to run in the rain. There's still a lot of competition throughout the field. 6 minutes into this GT3 Sprint Series race in the Precision Racing League. And I got to say, good on Rob Clark. He's kind of recovering here from a poor showing in the first lap and a half. And Hovesen has fallen off a little bit too. So is it Cy Young and Modoff? Maybe those are the two competitors here. As man, I just don't know how you feel comfortable making moves and just trying to get the deal done when you're in the middle of a pack at the front like this with all of the rooster tails, as you call them, JP.
Yeah, it's been a challenge for a lot of these drivers to be able to get a pass done. Chris Sowan setting fastest lap still at the head of the field, by the way, 2:12s. What happened to Max Tillinu now? He is 465. Was it a huge strain of rooster tails? Not anymore.
And, oh man, almost saved it. If it wasn't for that tire barrier protruding out as far as it is, or was, move back maybe a little bit in the real world with that contact, then I don't think we're seeing that much damage there.
It was surprisingly challenging to stay on the racetrack in the daytime. It's even more challenging with the rainy conditions, obviously, here today. What goes through your mind and the driver's psyche when you race in the rain like this?
Well, I think it's just you're racing your own car. Sometimes, look at this. This is a big move down the inside for Hedgecox, who's taking a lot of peaks down the inside of Rob Clark's machine. Answer your question, but Hodgson, look at that, got into the grass off the curb, and you immediately lose it, put the car into that inside barrier. That might be almost day done. I mean, you're racing your own car as much as you are racing the competitors around you and the track itself. It's when you're in the dry, it's almost second nature. A fast driver will become one with the car. It's so much easier to run your race. However, when it comes to anything in the wet, you're almost unless you're really experienced in the wet, you're fighting a new car. It still behaves similarly, but it's got different quirks now. It runs differently. It's uncomfortable. And then you add in the fact that you're trying to make up moves and you have a championship to fight, and the points are the exact same as a dry race. And Ethan Bass almost pulled off an incredible drift there.
But almost is not pulling it off. Of note as well, we've had another crash with Ryan Reeves. He's out of the race. Bit of a slide, Rob Clark. Yet again, not sticking to the track. Hedgecock's no way to take advantage.
Hedgecox is going to make a brash move one of these times. It's going to lead to some contact because he's been making some big looks as, oh, Stolfer, be careful. Come on, man. What are you doing? That could have been really bad. I wonder if he spooked the car in behind. Yeah. Oh, look at that. A wiggle trying to get under braking.
Oh, more said Hedgecock's trying to use the outer grooves. But again, Clark staying planted for the time being. What happened in the AM battles? Peter Bowler, bit of door-to-door contact, squeezing and taken into the wall.
That's a massive incident right there. Holy cow.
Yeah, not a surprise when you're squeezing off like that off the track. Only so much you can do.
I mean, there truly is, as we might see some side-by-side racing here. We are maybe. Bit of defense here from Clark, the swap over Hedgecox, but they're going back to the right, so it's really a bunch of defense. Some contact, I think, just happened.
Yeah, yet again, they're rubbing against each other. Heading up to one of the chicanes in the next corner. That's the next opportunity to send. And yet again, Hedgecox can't keep the grip level high enough, trying to match line for line, and that seems to be the problem.
Yeah, it's hard to make multi-groove racing work in the rain, as Noah Anderson, man, that's bowling. Oh, man. Is that a teammate?
Couldn't quite tell, but that's a meatball flag for Anderson. Hard contact, gonna take him out of the race. But back to this battle. Hedgecox trying to go for the up and under for the Mercedes Arena. Yet again, gets in line, yet again, hits a puddle.
You have to imagine if Hedgecox gets by Clark, then Hovesen is under threat. First time we've seen them side by side in that section through the arena, and this is going to be a big run, I think, for Hedgecox. Right on board with Anderson, excuse me. Oh, man, that's massive.
Huge amount of contact. Oh, speaking of contact, they're bumping again. Clark, yet again, getting a little bit rubby. Hedgecox nearly turns him around. Now heading off to the Goodyear curve. Hedgecox shows the nose, tries to lunge it late, forces Clark up the track. But yet again, Clark squeezes him and hits him.
Man, this is getting nasty.
This is getting to where the elbows are out with the elbow protectors, getting in full circuit. Clark got loose. Here comes Hedgecox.
Look at
able to move up.
Hovesen now under attack. I mean, Hovesen slowing down has provided another opportunity for now Aiden Young to get into the mix. This is unreal racing here.
Clark nearly looped it around on his own on a straightaway. Now Young next up in line. Hedgecox trying to get some different lines played out. Clark now having to play defense of his own with Young in the backdrop.
You know how you always want to break, oh no! Talk about braking! That's a little bit too late, but it's naughty. It might get the move done as they're side-by-side coming out of the last corner.
Made it stick without any contact, but Young still showing the nose. Now gets sawed off by Clark. Huge defensive maneuver for the opening corner. Clark having troubles getting to the stick. Went through a lot of puddles. Jan now trying to work it for the right side of the racetrack. Clark getting squeezed down by Aiden Jan.
Oh man, it's so easy to defend here when you do have all of these back-to-back left and rights. These chicanes, just awesome racing. Gonna be a huge arc here. Could not get the power down as much as I thought he would for Aiden Young. Bass, another issue. Is this race over? Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the bumper went straight to the guardrail. Hard contact that shears off the front end of the race car. But we have more elbows out racing. Rob Clark does not want to lose points here. He is not afraid to make contact in front of them. Contact Hedgecox and Hobison. They slide off into the grass and Goodyear. Way off the track is Hedgecox from it.
My goodness. I mean, are you shocked? I'm not shocked. I'm shocked that Hobison was the one involved because he really wasn't getting that scrappy with anybody. It was Clark as well as Hedgecox, and Hedgecox just a little bit too overexcited right there. We'll have to see a replay if that was actually the case, but now Clark and Hayden Young, that battle has been promoted to a third-place podium's battle.
And for Hobison, it's going to be a disastrous lap. He's got a meatball flag for the contact. Miles Brown, he put in, oh my goodness, contact.
That is definitely the name for it. Oh my goodness, contact. Actually, I have another name for it, but I can't say that.
Either way, Gregory Hobson going to have to come in to serve mandatory repairs. It is a disaster. If you're the 115 camp in the point standings now here, Dylan, he had to come from the back with the tech issues before. Now he's going to have to do it again. Yun doing a huge slide into Clark. Just about doors him off the racetrack. Gives him the spot back.
Oh, man. The fact that... before we talk about that move... Wow. That was just not good racing from Hedgecox.
Sloppy. And I'm not talking about the weather. Sloppy. And that battle for third. Good respect by Young to give it back at least, but I mean, Rob Clark's been not afraid to put an elbow through the windshield today.
Yeah, not at all. That was quite wild. Gosh. I mean, listen, we've seen these drivers fighting for everything that they could possibly get, and I think the rain makes them feel like they can go a little bit more aggressive. It's sloppy and it's slippery and it's slidey already that I feel like you can get away with it a little bit more, and I get it. I totally get it. But the difference between that battling and what we're kind of seeing between Cy Young and Modolf, you know, they're a second and a half. They've been that way almost halfway through the race. And it's good hard racing between those two going kind of position for position. It's impressive. All of this is fairly impressive.
I mean, I think that was the hope that you'd see some impressive driving. We've seen some impressive car control from a couple. We've seen a lot of aggression outside of that. One of the more aggressive races on the season as they make their way through Vidal up to the Honda end curve. Looks like Clark finally has gotten the car to get where it needs to be after so many laps of being under pressure.
I gotta say, Rob Clark being in a podium spot, like you said, it's pretty impressive. I just don't see it staying. And if it does stay that way the entire way, I will blend a shoe and eat it up.
That's a bold
That's my
call.
shoe. That's my shoe.
You want to blend a shoe. You will blend a shoe, liquefy a shoe.
Yeah. You're asking me in all separate ways to say, what will I do? And yeah.
As long as it stays Clark and Yun in the order. I'm making sure.
No, if Rob Clark finishes P3 after all the defense he's had to put on, sure, why not? I don't know. I don't know if I intend on fulfilling that.
Oh, you're gonna have to do it now.
All right. Well, we'll see. I don't think he'll. I just don't see it. He's been very impressive, just somehow holding it by the tip of his shoe. I just don't see it staying that way.
By the way, we're keeping an eye on some of the air battles. David Mendonca, one of the teammates to Rob Clark, he's going to gain a spot. You know why? Because Kevin Simpson just went off to Narnia. Yeah, the 606 from 6 just went off the track. He was that one gray blob coming out of the grass.
I feel like most of these cars right now are gray blobs. A lot of neon green and black right here.
Lindquist, this happened after all the stack-ups earlier from Goodyear.
This is definitely going on his own quest to go off track right there. Man, what an interesting race this is turning out to be. It's been hectic, but it's just been fun. Drake Smith goes off a little bit. I gotta say, these Fords are struggling.
Yeah, they are not looking like they're happy with the racetrack of the rain right now. You know what else? The lead's closed up a bit. Here's why Kevin Simpson was off the track. I was about to say, as the choo-choo train effects continue on here, Devin Brock, with all the chaos, is top 10 in the overall race, and your top spot in amid all this train fiasco stuff too.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. Devin Brock being in the top 10 is, you know, I think for Brock, right, we've seen some solid results from him this year. He's leading the championship by 5 points over who was second in the AM class standing slash, you know, race AM class right now. 16th overall. I mean, these are a lot of point separation that will be added on to Brock's championship lead over Stort, if that is the case. What's really hurting Stort is his DNF in the 4th round of this championship. Brock did not have a good result last time out, so that's why it's close. If these results stand, it's a little bit more of a gap between Brock and Stort for the AM class title.
Looking at the leaders overall, you've seen the difference now to 6/7 as we're now up to 1.1. Rob Clark, yet again, still maintaining his gap by half a second. Yun is trying, but is struggling to close the gap because he has to take it so much wider to avoid the hydroplaning effect.
Yeah, not a bad move at all as some lap traffic gets out of the way. Good on them. I mean, listen, you see the puddling going on, and it's made me wonder, you know, we've seen some good hard racing, but usually in dry conditions you get a little bit more grip off the rain racing line or off the typical racing line. It kind of narrows it in the rain. So you're struggling more to make moves happen because there's not as much available racetrack and certainly not as much grip around the entire track as a whole to get the power down on corner exits. So that's why you're seeing, in addition to the track just being more difficult to drive, that's why you're seeing some more brash moves into the corners, dive bombs between drivers that we really know have an immense amount of skill here. It's because really that's the only way to make moves happen on this track in the rain with the available grip to them.
Eric Blasio, one of the Ferraris in the field, now in center focus. Started in 10th, up to 8th. It is also in the second major train of cars for the time being, and seems to be doing a good job. We haven't talked about him much all season.
doing a really, really solid job right here. You know, there's a lot of drivers we haven't talked about all year that is up there in this race right now. Can we just focus on J.R. Williams for a second?
Oh, yeah. That
19th in the overall Drivers' Championship. You got to go back to 21st to see the first AM-class driver. So 19th is J.R. Williams for Pro. That is far down the order. 0 top 5s. He's 93 points back of the championship lead that is currently held by Modoff. But he's in the top 5 right now. He's 5 seconds in front of Tabone. 15 and a half minutes to go here. And there's a dive and a spin. You saw that coming.
Lazio, wrong way on the track.
Bad move. Horrible. Not smart at all. Went into the barrier. Simpson just hit him. I mean, Justin, what's the one thing you got to do as a car that spins? Hold the brakes. Be predictable. Don't move.
And that definitely wasn't predictable. That just damaged the 606. Karl Modoff. He's still going with ebbs and flow swing. So on, gains a half a second. Then Modoff gains a half a second himself. They have swung hard back and forth through this course.
Yeah, I gotta say, you know, we've been talking about these battles going on all over. I know we mentioned Cy Young and Modoff, some hard racing, just taking time out of each other and whatnot. I think Cy Young has lost some time over the last few laps, just a 10th or 100ths here or there. And what a job we're kind of seeing from both of them. Seriously, this is some great racing tonight.
Brilliant racing from these drivers. But now it's the question, can Modoff find a way to get in the race lead? He seems to be even. But the thing is, even is different than catching, obviously.
When you catch a driver, then you've got to go off the racing line to make that move. That's what's, you know, we talk in oval racing, it's, and of course, in road racing of any sort, dirty air. Big part of it. And you kind of have to aero block in at least NASCAR competition nowadays. Here, though, you're just taking away the available grip to the drivers, and that's what's exciting.
Battle for third at AM is also staying pretty close right now. Amongst those in that battle, Thomas Rep, Matt Sheriff, Chris Stort's also in the second spot. It's been in second spot much the way there, rather. A lot of swapping back and forth in some of these battles in AM.
Yeah, this is really solid. Thomas Rep, haven't really seen much of him, at least in this race here tonight. Currently second. And if we're talking about Rep season, can we be honest? It's been really bad. Rep is 9th in the AM class standings. He's had a DNF. His best result came last round. I don't even think you want to talk about that too much. It was 29. He's currently in 16th. This could be massive for him in the AM class standings when it comes to taking a jump.
Some people just need that one race to come together for them to make the jump. It looks like some give and go, give and take there. Some of the pro drivers in the mix, that's Jack Hedgecock's rather, is the move. So here's the interesting thing. We've seen pit stops in the last race come up with about 11 minutes to go. Do we expect the same here, or is this going to be much different, knowing it's much slower speeds, so the fuel mapping is going to be much different here?
I think it's going to be, man, I feel like with the fuel mapping being different, with the more off-throttle time, I just think that you're still going to have to pit. It hasn't been that much off-throttle time that we may have seen at other tracks where you consume a lot more fuel. you still have a lot of off-throttle time at this track in dry conditions. So you're still going to have to pit. It's just when. You know, I've seen some drivers in different races try to make a zero-stop strategy work, and it almost has worked out, but it never has worked out, if that makes sense.
Hasn't really succeeded in terms of being able to work, yeah.
Thank you for making my words sound better.
In less than 11 minutes to go, it might be a risky proposition. By the way, those who have pit so far are Hedgecox, Lindquist, Muller, Drake Smith, and Gregory Holston came out of the pit lane after 9 minutes repairs. These points going to take a big swing with Gregory's situation here today, though.
Look at that. That's what we've got there. In the AM class standings without the drop week in consideration.
Oh, hold on 1 second for the lead. So unclosed. Modoff try to go in the grass to make it pass.
If this wasn't a complete 180 around the Dunlop curve, I'd say that there would be an opportunity and a pass coming here into turn 9. Michael Schumacher S. However, oh, look at that. You got your right side tires through the hydroplane, the puddles there. Let's ride on board, man, for a little bit. How difficult is it to find space to make a move?
As we've seen, extremely. How things have been outside the main grooves. Now, Modoff is at least 4 car lengths back as a result. A lot of shuffling at Hedgecox, letting drivers go here. That's the bottom box right now with Chris Stewart and Matt Sheriff battling for AM position for second spot. They continue on with 9 minutes to work with. The pit stops aren't mandatory, by the way, in this series. 50% the field limit as well. So if it is to the case of a no stop, you can do it. It's the matter of, can you fully make it? We are in a range where it's going to get interesting on when people blink. Right now, the train for the battle of the AM positions is still on.
Yeah, this is awesome racing here. Oh, look at this. There's going to be a big dive to the inside here. Way overshooting the corner. No way he makes it. All right, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
A lot of give and take from Hedgecox here with this being for position right now. Right now, 18th on the racetrack and already completing his pit service. Right now, no place for Matt Sheriff to go quite yet. Max Tillanu and Aaron Lindquist are also battling on the racetrack of the group. Up front, Modoff. He's been able to get alongside once or twice this lap already. He wants to do it again.
I mean, no matter what, this has been an impressive drive from all the drivers in at least the top part of this field. But Sayong and Modoff, they're putting a new exclamation point on impressive. These two have been clean with each other. They've been fair. They've been fast. Can't lie. And they've also let Rob Clark and Aiden Young squeak in a little bit.
Yeah, slowly allowing the gap to close from 6 seconds to 4. So it is chipping away. The more they fight, as to be expected when you run side by side here. Second for AM. Still getting some disruptions. Lindquist trying to get around to the bottom box.
All right, so I know I've been talking about the fact that all these drivers will have to come into the pits. Am I wrong?
There's a chance. It's 3 laps to go.
I feel like I'm going to be wrong here.
And if you aren't wrong, it's going to be... Oh, it's going to be a nightmare.
Aiden Young in the pits.
You're right. Some people can't make it. Here's a question. Have your leaders been saving?
I swear, if Rob Clark wins.
Yeah, that
wouldn't. He needs to finish that. That's the
I still think, though, that if there's a top off here, you're talking about like a 3-second pit stop here.
9.5. Oh, that's a mistake.
Hitchcock's had 5 seconds when he came in. You're talking about Young with the pit stop for 9 seconds.
That's a mistake. He left the fuel in for way too long.
Right now, Modov building up a run. Chris Sowan going slow defensive. Modov looking left. Sowan drifts up, slams the door, gets turned. Carl Modov slammed into. They both crash. Rob Clark takes the race lead with less than 3 laps to go.
That's unbelievable. Rob Clark right now is in the lead, but Modov is going to be angry and wants to get after him. Man, we're talking about how respectful those two have been at the front of this field. And all of a sudden, with 5 minutes to go, there was contact.
With less than 3 laps to go, Modov now has to drive a wounded race car. And Clark, who has not been in the conversation all race, had the elbows out early on, might be able to steal one. Less than 5 minutes on the clock.
My question is, again, oh, look, Clark's going into the pits. He can't make it on fuel.
Though he doesn't blank on the strategy. Clark has to come in regardless. Modov yet to come down. Chris Sowan stays out as well. And now, Modov stands alone. This is going to be extremely tight on the laps here, too. They are running 2:14s right now with the rain conditions.
I mean, I feel like there's only 2 laps to go here. There are only 2 laps to go. We'll run out of time, I think, with the leader coming to the final corner. At this point, I think it's just max fuel saving right now between the 2 leaders. J.R. Williams has found himself into 3rd.
How about that? And this
Brock
race
in
is...
7th.
It's not done yet. It's not done yet. That's the thing.
I'd love to get a look at what happened between the 2 leaders. From my view, I think Sion just got I think he got a little bit too hot into the corner in defense and slid up, and Modov wasn't giving him any room. Here's a replay. A little bit of blocking. That's just hard racing. That's fair. Doesn't make another move.
Yeah, right
Is
there.
that net code too?
I don't think so.
It's hard to tell from that angle.
Wow. Still but a lap and a third to go. Devin Brock looking to do some improbable racing. Yin Yang Racing. He's the points leader after off Ram. I haven't talked much with him this season though. Now, just needs to keep it on the racetrack with everything else exploding.
I just gotta wonder if there's another twist in the tail. I mean, there has to be, right? This race has had a little bit of everything. And the gap between Modov and Sion is coming down big time. And I wonder if that's a fuel-saving reason or, man, I don't know what to expect here. We got 1 lap to go.
Matt Sheriff off the track and just trying to drive around the sand. And believe we might have got 1 to go. Devin Brock can't get it. He can't go.
I almost wonder if that's if he appropriately entered the pits there.
That was an abrupt check down. He's afraid of not making it. Most of the other competitors in his field have pit though. Chris Stort is next up. This could be close depending on where things cycle for the AM win now. Devin Brock being high up at 7. Brock's already completed his service. I don't think Brock is as worried as he should be, but it's not going to be as strong of a points run as he was hoping for.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but he still is going to have multiple points of an advantage coming out of this race. By the way, that advantage has come down another second for the lead.
It's under 3 seconds. It's coming down under 2.5. Brock seems like he's stabilized at least in front of Lindquist. Right now, we're down to the final minute of this one. This has taken a lot of intriguing turns today, hasn't it? How the racing's gone. Mendonca has a chance for a top 5. He's racing Brent the Bone, who's been quietly running top 10 all race. Strategy has really shaken it up.
It's been fun, and we still have another 35 seconds left before the checker comes out. Not everyone has had to come down into the pits. The zero stop strategy seems to have won out here. Modolf is heavy saving, though. It's not over.
Yeah. If I don't think it's done yet. But checker flag is displaying and confirmed. Karl Modolf has held on. Believe on the scoring. Yes, Karl Modolf has won it. It was within about a couple seconds. Had to wait to confirm. Chris Sowon will have to wait another day for a first win of the season. J.R. Williams rounding out the podium. How about that for Devin Brock? An AM win to remember for him. It was a whirlwind of emotions here today, but he's able to survive at the top off, coming to the white flag, but still gets a top 15 overall for his efforts.
You know, I'm really excited to hear. Oh, look at that! Is there more drivers? More drivers are coming across the line, and positions are maybe swapping a bit at the end. I'm excited to see, or to hear what Chris and Carl have to say about that incident.
I think a lot of people are. Another Christopher. Final lap blues.
Oh boy.
Some people starting to run out of gas now on the parade lap. Cool down lap, seeing things with 26 on the lead lap at the very end. 2-minute separations across the pylon, by the way. It's going to take a couple minutes for the rest of these drivers to finish out this race. And some of your top runners in AM did not get the runs they needed. Karl Modolf, though, tonight holds on to the win. Chris Sowon officially second. Williams, The Bone, Mendonca, Garon, your top 6. Rob Clark had to pit late. He finished 7th. Marcio, Jan, and Janest, your top 10. In 11th spot today, Connor Wagner. Nick LaDuca gets himself up to 12th in the end from 25th starting spot. David Holland recovers from a spin early to 13th, almost his starting spot. Lindquist start in next. Then these are your pro results, should say. Simpson, Tillinu, Crisp, Hedgecox, Hobson, and Bass. Last pro driver today, Noah Anderson. A little bit different. Devin Brock, Chris Stewart, 5 seconds the difference. Matt Sheriff, along with Aaron Beaver, Jason Hodgson, Thomas Rep, Kyle Robertson, Peter Muller, Drake Smith, Chris Stouffer, all in your top 10. Your finishers today, Carollo, Brown, Reeves, and Campbell. Brown, Reeves, and Campbell amongst the lengthy DNF list, along with Carollo in the double-digit DNF list. Lots to talk about with their drivers here today, to say the very least, after a wet one here in Germany. Some may have been hoping it would have been sunny, but in the end, Karl Modolf able to come away with a checker flag here. Talk us through that battle for the race win with Chris.
Hey guys, man, yeah, that was not the way I wanted to win the race. But it's, you know, I think we talked about it last rain race. It's so hard to see in the rain, and it was pretty slippery out there. So I felt like I had a couple good runs, and then he kept kind of chopping my nose, and I didn't really want to drive it in for fear of hitting him. So, that lap I kind of backed out and figured I would try and get a good exit, and then he kind of drifted in front of me right when I was trying to kind of time it under. So I think it's just kind of a racing incident. I don't ever like to, get into contact with other guys, but with the conditions and how hard he was kind of defending there, it was tough. So sorry to him, but I feel like it's kind of a racing incident there with the conditions. And then just from the race perspective, it's just saving fuel the whole time, trying to push Chris, but then also trying to save enough fuel to make it to the end without having to stop. So it was tough. I actually thought I was going to run out after a couple laps of battling, and then the race only went 18 laps, so I ended up having a whole extra lap, which was kind of a nice cushion at the end.
And the rainy conditions really put a wrench into things. What was kind of the team philosophy with what we've seen here in the rain today, especially with a lot of people going with the no stop?
Yeah, I think we all saw how good the no stop could be last rain race when Garan, almost won the race, and I was out of town all week, so I just kind of hopped on and looked at all the officials to see what people were doing, and it looked like everyone was no stop, and that was winning the races. So I decided to go that route. I think Greg was actually going to do a push race, but then with where he qualified and how bad the rain was, it just wasn't really worth the time. So we all kind of settled into that one stop. Just you only gain like half a second, and you lose like 30 seconds in the pits. So definitely kind of an easy decision there.
Magello's next. Your thoughts on Magello?
Man, it's always been one of my favorite tracks on video games, racing games, growing up, and I haven't really got much laps on it since it came out on iRacing, but looking forward to it. It's a killer track, has a great flow, so hopefully we'll have a good race there.
Any shout out you'd like to give here tonight, Carl?
Yeah, shout out to PRL, all your announcers, and then my friends, family for tuning in. Thanks, guys.
Congratulations, Carl, on the win tonight.
Thanks, Justin.
Carl Modoff gets the win. Chris Owen will have to settle for second after leading most of the way. He's with Dylan.
Yeah, and, that was quite the interesting turn of events at the end there, Chris. Just take us through what happened in that contact between you and Carl.
I was honestly trying to hold him off all race. He kind of had the pace advantage over me the whole time. Not to mention we're trying to go the no stop, and I tried to go defensive, and going in down to that corner, I braked a bit too hard, and he tried to do the switch back, and I kind of drifted into his race line, but totally wasn't his fault. It's kind of on my part, but a bit unfortunate, but I'll take a second.
Well, after, taking that second place, it feels like this championship battle, it's definitely there, alive and existing. Those final three races, they're a little bit different conditions than what the fixed series race will have. Is there any you circle as maybe a point of concern or point of emphasis for you in training, practicing for it?
I feel pretty confident going into these final three, except for Imola. Like, I literally have 0 laps on Imola, but Mugello is one of my favorite tracks, and Road America I'm pretty decent at too, but it'll just come down to getting the setup right and being consistent, because these three last races, I know I'm kind of back in the points, but if I can finish pretty good, I think maybe a top 3 in the points might be pretty possible.
Well, fingers crossed for you. And anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
My family, my uncle, the Osborne, we practice a lot together. My whole family watching, and you guys for putting the stream on to go back and watch the replay.
Heck yeah, man. All right, well, congratulations on the second place finish, and best of luck next week.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Chris, a solid run for him there, Justin. And, we're not done yet. We still have third place on the podium, and you're currently standing by with J.R. Williams. What a run for him.
Yeah, JR, it's been a little while since we spoke with you here in this circle of things. How would you describe your run tonight?
Well, don't get used to seeing me here. That was an amazing race for me. I guess in the wet, I'm a little above average, and I got a good lap. We only had conditions that were right in the first bit of the qualifying. So I got a good lap in, and then fuel saved the whole race. Had a good time.
Overall, what was the most difficult thing on top of the rain? What was the most difficult thing about this race to be able to stretch it to a no stop?
I mean, thankfully, my teammates and I kind of worked on hitting a fuel target, so we knew what to do. The hardest part really was just visibility and, hitting your markers, because you get someone in front of you, you can't see anything. So it helps a little bit with the fuel saving, but it's really blinding, and you don't know where to brake.
Thoughts on Magellan next week?
It's a great track. It's going to be a good time. You guys won't see me up here. I'm really happy to be here, but I'm hoping for like maybe a top 10, top 15. That would be a really good finish for me there.
Anything else you'd like to add, or any shout out you'd like to give after this run here tonight?
Yeah, I want to shout out Arnaud and for running this great series, and for my teammate Eric for the help that we put in this week that made this podium happen. So thanks, guys.
Congratulations once again on the top 3, JR.
Thank you.
JR Williams coming away in 3rd overall tonight. Also have your top driver in AM this evening, Devin Brock, standing on by. He is with Dylan.
Devin, you had a little bit of a scare there when you had to come into the pits with just a lap remaining in this race. But hey, all is well that ends well. You got first in the AM class. You added on to your championship lead, but it could have been a little bit more. You're a bit disappointed with how that race ended up, with how it went for pretty much 95% of it?
Yeah, a little bit, because, I just got to get a little bit better at fuel saving, especially in a wet race where no stopper is possible, because definitely could have had definitely a top 10 finish there. So a little bit disappointed, but I'll take it because this is a pretty good track for me, whether it's wet, whether it's dry. So I love this track. Got a lot of laps and miles on this track, so we'll take it and be able to just carry it into Mugello. So
do you feel like the Porsche maybe handled a little bit better than other cars here on the wet surface?
Definitely, yeah, because even back when I did Spa 24 a couple weeks ago, I saw how good the Porsche is in the wet in comparison to the Corvette and everything. So it definitely helps with the Porsche being so strong in the wet here. So I was kind of banking on having a good race here to recover from Spa last week. So, but yeah, it helps that it's so strong here. But well, still got to be able to capitalize in the dry as well. So.
All right, Devin. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go for this evening?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to my brother Larry and Yin Yang Racing, and I'll thank them for letting me represent them.
All right, Devin Brock, congrats on the AM class victory.
Thanks so much, man.
Not a problem. Devin had a really solid race for him there, JP. It just obviously didn't end the way he wanted to in the overall points, but hey, a winning class is still a winning class, and you can go home happy with that one.
And now we get ready for our next portion of the schedule, Mugello. One of the newer circuits on iRacing coming up. That should be a fun time. That should be an interesting one. Your thoughts on that one on my birthday?
On your birthday? Ooh, I'm excited to talk with you during that race. How old are you turning?
Ageless.
I knew you weren't going to tell me how old you were turning. Mugello, it's a fun track to watch. Historically, we've seen a lot of motorcycle racing here. It's technical, a lot of sweeping corners. I always feel like it's one of those tracks that it's more fun to drive than it is to try and make passes at. But hey, we can get surprised, especially with one race being in the wet, that's the fixed race, and the other being dry. So kind of a split bit of action just like this weekend. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited for it. It's going to be fun.
Catch that again August the 6th. Coverage starts 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Once again from Mugello. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye from the Nürburgring. Our co-announcer tonight, Dylan Coyle. For our producer this evening, Ramiro Augustus Cisneros. Joseph Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening. You've been watching the PRL's GT3 Fixed and Sprint Series, battling in the rain and sunshine. We'll see you next time from